So first of all, thank you for joining us and good morning to everyone, and welcome to this WCBS webinar that we're running in partnership with Esenda to run through their integrated fee payment solution. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to, sorry, I said I was having some technical challenges, run through the agenda, and I'll just, to start with, after the agenda, I'll give you a brief introduction. I'm then going to hand over to Gary from Esenda to run through what they do. And then after that, I'll talk about how the Esenda solution integrates with Pass and certainly save you some time and effort with rekeying payments into the system. And then we'll finish off with a Q&A session whereby we can answer any questions. And as I said, we're using the live event Q&A. If you've got any questions, please put them in there and we'll try and pick up on them as we go through. So that's basically the agenda for today. And if I just move on to my next slide, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is John Cannon. I've seen the delegate list. I think I've met quite a few of you over the years that I've been in WCBS. I started with WCBS back in 2009, and I've probably lost count and probably up to the 1,000 mark of the number of independent schools that I've visited across the country. WCBS themselves have been in business since 1984, and certainly a lot has changed in that time. And I would imagine a fair bit has changed for a lot of you in the last 6 months, thanks to this thing called COVID-19 that seems to be taking over the world at the minute. One of the big changes that we've seen in schools, or certainly I've seen in schools when talking to them, is they've had to transition to providing online learning. And I believe in general, the independent sector has done well in adapting to this brave new world. This was evidenced in a recent MTM survey that I saw that has even predicted that numbers could rise as a result when parents in the aspirational middle classes compare their experiences in the local state schools to those in the private sector. Also, during the pandemic, I've spoken to many schools about the challenges they face in this uncertain time. Many of you have had to be fairly creative about managing your billing processes and adapting to the constant changing world whilst looking for cost and efficiency savings. One thing I am sure of is collecting fees will continue to present challenges going forward, but here at WCBS, we believe the process should be as easy and as efficient as possible for parents. There should be no unnecessary barriers to paying bills. So, for example, if a parent wants to pay by card and the bursary is not open, there should be no way of stopping them actually making that payment, because typically they might want to be doing it after work. Also, if they want to come into school to hand over a cheque and can't due to lockdown restrictions, we want to try and remove these barriers away. Certainly, as people adapt to doing more and more online, WCBS have partnered with Esenda to provide a simple and easy online payment service that will facilitate this. This service meets the objectives of improved efficiency and ease of use for parents, along with cost savings. And the plus side, it's also available 24 hours a day. So whenever parents want to pay their bills, they will be able to do so through the system. The good news also is Esenda integrates with Pass billing, so it will remove the need to actually key or rekey payments into the system, and it will also handle the cash allocations for you. What I'd like to do next is hand over to Gary from Esenda to tell you a little bit more about how to help your school. If you can just bear with me a second whilst I make the changeover, I'm having to run their slides on my laptop, and Gary's possibly going to have to tell me when to advance those slides. So if you just bear with me 1 second whilst I just change over my slide deck. Okay, Gary?
Yep, I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Thank you very much for the introduction, John. So we've been working with WCBS now for well over a year to get the to get an API that's suitable for the industry. The Esenda platform has been specifically built for the independent schools market, and it has been constructed to work in 3 main areas. So John, if you can go forward with the first slide, please. So I am not Tom Horton. I'm Gary Davis. I'm the commercial director. Tom was meant to be doing the presentation today, but due to some technical hitches at our end, I'm doing that instead. So Esenda's been going now for over 2 years. The two co-founders, Bertie Simpson and Tom Horton, both went to independent schools, Millfield, and they seen that the market really needed a piece of software like we've put together. So John, if you can go to the next slide. The first thing that we wanted to do was increase efficiencies. So the integration is unique with WCBS. It does not require the portal. There is full read-write data transfer that allows automatic matching and reconciliation. There's live updates to parents. Parents can also part pay, and that integration with passFINANCE will show part payments. Reduction in headcount and manual workload. This will automate many processes. It will actually, hopefully, with the parents being updated electronically, it will allow more free time for the incumbent teams to do other things within the department. Next slide, please, John. So reducing fees, we aim to be the most competitive in the market. At the moment, that's 1%. There's no hidden costs, and you can save up to 50% against other providers. We put a simple calculation on this slide, just showing up to $750,000 a year in payments. But we found with most schools that we speak to, we can personalize this against the current way that they do things, and we find this is quite a powerful tool in a way of saving money. As I say, we like to not hide any charges. At the moment, that's 1%, and that is across the board for international and domestic payments. John, next slide, please.
I think there's a bit of delay in sending the slides across.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. And lastly, the big one here is we mitigate fraud. We want to give schools the resources to protect themselves by having a regulated and secure portal that protects them. We found that many schools have been hit in the last few years with cyber attacks, whether that's email phishing. Many schools will send out invoices with payment details on there. And although that's not illegal in any shape, way or form, it's sort of against industry standards to do so. And so what we can do is we send an electronic invoice, which you'll see during the demonstration, that will have a unique link on there that will take you to a secure portal to make that payment. It's really as easy as that. And it reconciles instantly within the school system. So it really does give ease of mind to both the school and the parent using the system. And then the final slide is the final thing is to show you a demonstration of the system, which I do believe Mr. Cannon also has.
This is where I've got a real challenge, Gary. So if I just try and drag this one across to the screen.
Yeah, it's not the only challenge we've had this morning with technology, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
So I'm just assuming now all I do on this one is press play.
Absolutely, yeah. So as you can see, this is the user going in and then clicking on the invoice, and then can go in and either do a bank transfer as they probably normally would, or they can pay by card. They can then fill in those details through the portal and then click on the currency that they would like to use. Sorry if my voice is delayed or in front of what you're seeing because it's on someone else's screen. And then hit the next button, and then it will go through to confirm the billing address. And then it will confirm the payment for you. And then you'll enter the card details like you normally would. And then it will give you a confirmation. So that's as simple and easy as it looks. The whole solution is for ease of use for the parent and for the school. Obviously, the benefits for the parent are that it's encrypted, and obviously with cyber attacks on the rise, this is more and more prevalent. And then the benefits for the school are obviously the matching and reconciling within the system instantly. But yeah, that's really it from us. And then John, hopefully you can cover how that matches and reconciles within WCBS and be able to show that.
Sure, it's quite interesting when we put these presentations together. Quite often you think about putting a lot of time into an effort into a presentation, but that was actually just a short 1:37 video. And hopefully it illustrates how easy that process is for parents to use. With something like this, we definitely don't want to overcomplicate it. So what we've just seen in the video is I guess what the parents would be doing. And what we're now interested in is how that information would then feed back into your pass system. So in essence, we're getting the parents to do all of the work for you. And then if I just advance my slides, pass to that one. So the process is, as you've just seen there, with the first two things, we would have the pass billing generating the bill. The payment would go through on Esenda, which is the sort of middle block there. And then using the WCBS API, what Esenda is doing is reading out the bill information. And when the payment is made, we're using the API to write back the payment transaction to the pass billing database for you. Pass billing obviously is part of passFINANCE. So that's how the process works. All of this will happen behind the scenes and will need no intervention from you guys at all. What it actually looks like when we come to look at it in pass is that the payments are updated into pass. For those of you on the call who are entering payments at the minute, you'll probably be familiar with the transactions screen on a pupil inquiry. So if we look at my screen on the left hand side, I'm looking at a pupil record for Isabel Abbott. Isabel is in form 7A, and we can see quite a lot of transactions that have gone through on the system. So I've just highlighted the top transaction there. And again, any of you familiar with pass will know that the source is billing ledger that you see on the right hand side, and CSH there highlights the fact that a cash payment has been made into the pass system. And again, if you're used to inputting these transactions, certainly in the training sessions from WCBS, the advice normally to put into reference 1 is the details of the person actually entering that transaction. So in this case, where we're writing data from Esenda into our system, we are writing the details of Esenda into reference 1. So if I was to use the search, sorts or filter options within the billing inquiry, I could actually search on reference 1 to see all of the Esenda payments within there. Of course, recording a payment into the pass system from Esenda is just one part of the process that saves some time. Again, those of you used to manually keying in payments will also be aware that typically you need to match them to the bill to clear out the outstanding value in here. Because the parent is selecting a bill to pay when they went through the process described in the video, what pass is also doing behind the scenes is it enables that transaction or that cash payment to be matched to an outstanding bill or invoice. Now, generally, when you're looking at this sort of information, there's probably 2 questions that would get asked. The first on the left-hand side is, how was this particular bill paid? Or the second question you might get asked, I've received an amount of money, what did this amount of money pay? Either query can be answered and linked back to the payment from Esenda. So if we look at the left-hand side here, I'm actually looking at a bill here. I'm looking at bill 4212. Those of you familiar with the billing transactions within pass will know there is an option to view matching transactions, which is what I'm doing here. So it's actually matched that cash payment that was made through Esenda via the API onto the pupil record. So we can see the matching transactions there. Alternatively, if we view it from the other way around, we can start with a cash payment and drill down into the billing transaction. So you have all the matchings and the data entry that takes place for you. So getting parents to pay through this particular method, there's no additional work, if you like, for the bursary. In fact, it's actually saving you the time and effort of keying the payments into the system. So that's how the Esenda system links into Pass. As I said, with the API, it's a seamless link and it all happens behind the scenes. Why have we partnered with Esenda? Well, as you've seen there, the fact that you don't have to rekey any of the transactions or the matching means there's definitely improved efficiency. The simplicity of the video that was run through and how parents make the payments just show how easy the system is to use. Esenda also have some of the most competitive rates on the market, therefore generating sort of cost savings for you if you are taking payments through this particular method. So there's all sorts of reasons why we've partnered with Esenda and benefits to the school in doing so. Hopefully in the sort of 20 minutes that we've been presenting, you have a great idea about how the system works. And what I'd like to do now is open up the session to any questions and answers. I'm just having a quick look through the Q&A. I can't actually see any in there, but what I did have before the session is 2 questions that were emailed to me, which I'll just run through now. So the first question that I have here is, do we need any additional modules from WCBS to make this work? Well, having a quick scan through the attendee list, I think probably most of you are using the billing module. Now, the Esenda links needs the billing module and the WCBS API to be able to work with. Most schools we deal with have already purchased these. If you're unsure as to whether you have the API, I'm pretty sure you'll know whether you've got the billing or not. But if you're not unsure whether you've got the API, if you want to give WCBS a call, and I'll put the number up at the end of these slides, and check with your account manager, we'll be able to confirm whether you've got that in place or not. Second question that I had pre-prepared or emailed to me was, is there a particular version of the API needed to make this work? And the answer to that particular question is yes, there is. You need to be on version 2.5. Now, this version of the API was first introduced in February 2020. And if you're not on this version, a download is available via Customer Support Center if you need to upgrade. I'm sure your IT guys have got the login details for the Customer Support Center, but again, if they haven't, then your internal account manager at WCBS will be more than happy to help in that particular area. What I've got here are just scanning down a few questions. One of the questions I have here is, will parents need a password to access Esenda? Gary, if you're still on the call, can I pass that one over to you?
So what will happen is they will receive the invoice electronically, and then there'll be a unique link with each parent. So it will be completely customized and it will take them through to their invoice.
And do they need a password, or does it just take them straight through to payment, I think is the question, sorry.
Oh, apologies. It will take them straight through to the payment screen.
So I think the answer to the question is no, they don't need a password, but we provide a unique and individual URL for each payment.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's fully encrypted. We don't have any logins.
The next question I have here is, can we have it for Monday? So Gary, can we get this up and working for whoever that was for Monday? I'm pretty sure we could do.
The turnaround is as quick as the school, really. So there is some KYC information that we would need, and that will then go to the risk assessment team, and then we'd like to normally turn that round within sort of 2 to 4 weeks, and get them set up with their acquirers. So again, it's as quick as the school can come back to us with that information is as quick as we can turn that around, really. But there is some risk assessment that goes on, as you can appreciate, because it's dealing with finance.
So whoever that was that asked the question, sorry you can't have it for Monday, but we will certainly get it to you as soon as possible. And as Gary said there, there's usually a bit of a turnaround time while we go through some of the approvals that are needed. I have a question from Simon about part payments. So this would be the scenario, Gary, where we've got an invoice for, say, £2,000, but a parent only wanted to pay £1,500.
Yeah. So that will reconcile and match back into WCBS and let them know of, and obviously it will report on that part payment, and then it will, obviously the parent will get their payment confirmation, and as part of that confirmation it will let them know what the balance is left to pay.
As far as WCBS is concerned on that side, Simon, what will happen is, using the example of a £2,000 invoice and a £1,500 payment, what it will do is it will match the £1,500 to the invoice for £2,000, but it will still show an outstanding balance of £500, which was the bit that Gary was referring to there. Sorry, next question, just going down through the list. How much does this cost?
So there is no setup fees, no annual subscriptions. We simply make the money on the transaction charges. We don't, and there is no plans to do that imminently. We feel that schools are overcharged for what they use at the moment. And we feel that 1% across the board is fair. Not to say that won't change with rates and everything, can change from the banks, but at the moment we plan to be, and there's no reason for not to be, the cheapest on the market, but there is no subscription and no setup fees.
And from a WCBS point of view, I think I covered that side in the presentation. As I say, most of you, I think, from looking at the attendee list, have the billing ledger module, so there's no cost as far as that's concerned. One of the things we just need to do is embed the link into the invoice document that parents would pay, or communicate that to parents. So that's just something you need to be aware of, a little bit of extra work. And for those schools who've already got the API, there would be no additional cost in that particular area. And as I mentioned in the slides, if you're not sure whether you've got the API or not, then speak to your account managers and we'd be more than happy to advise. We just have a quick rundown through the questions. For parents who are debtors, so no actual bill, can they log in and pay off their outstanding balances? I'm not sure the scenario behind that question being asked. So the question is, for parents who are debtors, so there is no actual bill, can they log in and pay off their outstanding balances? Whoever's asked that question, can I ask you to email me at the end of the presentation? On the next slide, it will have my email address on. I'm trying to understand the scenario going through there. I'm not sure whether billing accounts exist, for example, or quite what the scenario is. So if you send me your contact details, we can have a telephone call and just run through that one. So sorry, I can't answer that question at the minute. I just probably need a bit more information. As I can't see any more questions at this point in time, I did promise to put my contact details up.
Yeah, and John, just a quick one. There's one on the meeting chat there. Someone's asked the question: is it 1% on all transactions through Esenda or just card payments? That's just 1%. Only applies to cards, so that's just for card payments only.
Guys, if I can draw your attention to the publish section as well of the Q&A, there are more questions under there if you want to have a look at those.
I can't see them.
One for you there, Gary. Is there any currencies that Esenda cannot take?
There is places where we can't take payments from, so Sudan, South Sudan, that we've got a list of those that if they would like a proposal, we'll put them on there for you. Obviously that can change from time to time depending if there's a skirmish in that country and things like that, but there's a list of a few countries that that we can't take payments from.
Got another question here. Do we get a notification of payment? From a pass point of view, I believe you get an icon pop up in the top menu to notify you have new payments to have a look at, and then there is an inquiry routine that you can run that will give you a list of all payments that have come in through the API through Esenda. So there's certainly ways you can get to information and pull off lists of payments. That's quite an important question there from Sue. And Gary, you might be able to help with this one. How
Yep.
long does it take for the money to actually hit the school's bank account from a payment being made?
So in our experience, obviously it depends on the payment method, but typically it's next day settlements.
So there's a fairly quick turnaround on that. I know in my bank it used to take about 3 days. So.
Yeah, so typically we work on next day settlements. We want the process to be as quick as possible for our customers to get their money.
Okay, cool. Hopefully, as this is my first experience with Teams, I've sort of covered all the questions that have now been asked. I've mentioned a couple of times about if you're unsure of things, you can contact our account manager. So I've put the main WCBS telephone number up there if you need it, which is 01458 83334. For the person who asked the question about the payments, my email address is up there, which is john.cannon@wcbs.co.uk. Or if anybody else has got any queries that I didn't pick up on the chat or would like to ask, please email me those questions and then I'll come back to you as soon as I can. So I think it just remains for me to say thank you very much for listening and attending this webinar. I hope you found it useful, and just remains again for me to say have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.